We've been on this project for a few months now, but there is one thing that hasn't changed since the day that the frame went up back in October. The only way we've had to get from the first floor to the second floor has been a metal ladder, like kind of a stairway, that moves around as necessary to accommodate the workers. We've actually gotten pretty used to seeing it, but when we heard the time had finally come to install the real stairs, we were as excited as we were on the day the frame was raised. One of the added benefits of the stairway installation was that Kubota-san was back for a couple of days. He was in charge of the installation, so we felt confident that it would be done perfectly. Naturally, we had to go watch. We knew we'd only be in the way, but we couldn't resist watching it come together. The pieces were all delivered the previous couple of days, and the iron frame, the iron railings, and the wooden steps took up most of the living room floor space. The team wasted no time in assembling that frame, and even before the steps were there, we had a good sense of what the room would look like with this latest design element. We wanted the stairway to be a design element because we thought its upward motion would accentuate the lofted ceilings and create more of a spacious vertical feeling to the room. As it was, we hadn't much chance to see this because the loft was usually covered to allow the team to work on the walls. But now the scaffolding was gone, and so was the steel ladder stairway. And we could finally see if what we had imagined would actually work. The inspiration for this look came from memories of old kominka-style houses in Japan. I often visited these old houses back in Nagoya at the Meijimura Architectural Park and other places around Japan. These old houses were used as residences and businesses and often had vaulted ceilings with windows looking into the central foyer from the surrounding rooms. As a result, we added a window from the master bedroom, which will eventually have a traditional shoji screen to hopefully accentuate that traditional kominka style. We don't know yet how the shoji will look, but today we finally got a great sense of how the loft looks from the floor to ceiling, and on the ceiling, the fan that took so long to pick out. I'll get back to that fan in just a minute, but let me first say that the stairs took about a day to assemble, and the lightness of the design and the black iron framing stood out strikingly against the wood panel. It was, when all was said and done, just the look we were going for. But as usual, Kubota-san did us one better. Down on the main floor, we designed a little step up to get into the office and TV room. That was actually 2 steps, and Kubota-san delivered the middle step on the same day as the stairwell. I was imagining just a wooden box with no particular form, but Kubota-san had a better idea, producing this stylish contoured step that just adds that much more accent to the room. Leave it to Kubota-san and Shimokawa-san to go that extra step each time. Well, that ceiling fan I mentioned earlier was in just a supporting role when we started the designs, but it slowly worked its way into a key position. The recessed lights were cut into the ceiling sometime before, and it's pretty clear from looking at the wood-paneled ceiling that there is little room for air. Even one poor cut could mean having to replace a substantial portion of that paneling. But the lights were too close together to accommodate the size of ceiling fan that we had in mind. We struggled with what to do next, searching for ceiling fan options and messing with the angle of the blades, all to avoid the flicker of the blades passing through the beam of the recessed light. We were nearly facing the bleak last resort of recutting the lights when Kubo-san got up on the scaffolding with a piece of wood and precisely measured the reach of a shorter ceiling fan that we were considering. It seemed to work. So my wife spent 2 or 3 late nights searching for a ceiling fan that would fit the style of the room, the maximum size that we had determined, and something suitable for a slanted ceiling. It wasn't easy at all, but we finally settled on something that looked a bit more traditional than our original image, but seemed to match our overall look. My son had always liked the more traditional styles anyway, so he was the happiest of all of us. We were all happy though, because nothing needed to be recut and that ceiling fan suited the room just fine. Sometimes compromises simply have to be made. Telling Shimokawa-san's team that we didn't need to cut the ceiling was worth any small tinge of disappointment that might have still remained. But the truth is, there was no disappointment. The fan looked great. The lights frame it nicely, and it looks maybe even better than the original plan. And sometimes, it just works out that way. What initially seems to be a mistake often actually just turns into an alternative.